Okay, so I have some things on my task, some things I'm going to do this time, some updates I'd like to make, a little bit of refactoring, just after I was looking back at my code. So last night I just added the walk functionality. Okay. So that's just to walk to the next room. So the room that's currently selected by this variable direction choice. And actually I'm going to rename this walk function to travel, because I'm just thinking in the game, and you may not always be walking, you may just travel by some different means. So I'm just going to rename that real quick. There and here. And then here I just have it, so it's simulating some button presses, a random number of one of the button presses, and then a button 2 press. So what this is doing is just choosing a random number for the first button press, which changes the option for which direction you will be traveling in. So you know how there's north, east, south, and west. So this is so this button just cycles through those options, and then button 2 selects the option that it's on. So if I just run this, travel, yeah, need to update the header file too. So if I upload this and watch on the screen, so first it goes through the intro, we're in the middle room, so then the first button press, so it happened 3 times, and then second button press, so we entered the west room. The screen's going a little wonky. This time it went to the east room, so we're back, or sorry, it went east, so we're back in the middle room. East again, so now we're in the east room. Wow, the screen's really not doing well right now. Yeah, so anyway, this was just sort of a fun test to, or a fun way to test the traveling functionality, so traveling around the map. And the map right now looks like, well, I just have the game map, and then setting up the map is here. So we just have all these rooms. For now I'm not going to have it where there's any empty rooms, so the map is always a rectangle full of rooms. And right now the rectangle's dimensions are just 3 and 3, so it's a square. But I'm going to change how I'm going to use this struct. So this is actually going to become game info. Yes, I'm going to change that first. This is game info. And I'm going to call this game. And the reason is it's sort of a global variable for this file. So I want to have just a bit of a longer name, so it's a bit more descriptive. So I'll just change all of these. Yep. And here, that's going to change. That's all going to change. Okay, so that's good. Just make sure that still compiles. Wrong kind of tag. What did I do wrong here? Okay, map looks fine. Is it here too? Nope. Okay, apparently I can't use game info. Oh, because I already have one. Okay, this is actually, I'm going to call this map info because I don't think I'm going to put any more in there. So yeah, I'm just going to change these names around a bit. Not using that anywhere else. Okay. So this is now a game info. So this is no longer going to hold the current position, because I was thinking it actually makes more sense for the player's position to be in a player info struct. So a struct that's going to hold info about the player, like maybe their health, their items, and their current position. So this does compile now, yes. Okay. So just gonna get rid of that. That's done. That's done. Just one more name change. Set up map. Now set up game. Because this is going to do more than just setting up the map. Okay. So I'm going to have room info, and this is going to be inside game info. So how do I want to use this? I want to say rooms, or I guess just room, and there's map width and map height. And in here, we have the room text. Could call this description. Yeah, let's say description. Actually, I'll just leave it as text for now. So room text. So this is going to be the text for the room. So what is right here, right now. So this is now gone, and then this is now like that. Yep. Oh, and this is, I guess, won't be declaring one there. Room info, yeah. Oh, that should be right. So this is actually the text. So if for each part I have room. I need room text. Yep. I'm not seeing the problem here. Maybe I'm just not in a good mindset for coding right now. Let's see. What am I missing? Oh, I don't know why. I did that backwards. I'll just undo all those. I meant after these text, obviously. I'll just do this a bit quicker. Let's see if that does it. Okay, there we go. Just wasn't thinking right. Okay, let's make sure this all still works. I know it compiles, but man, the screen just can't hold its contrast. Western. Okay, so it's all still working. Good. So now the X and Y location will be in the player info. I'm going to put this after the game info. And I'll just call this player. So game and player will always exist, and they should be set up in setup game. So first we'll set up the rooms, and this room info is also going to contain the info about what's in each room. So what enemies are in it, or any obstacles or any items. And I'm thinking of just storing those as an array of characters, so a string essentially. And then it would be nice if I could, as the obstacles get overcome or disappear or move, they should be removed from the string. And then if the room has an empty string as the obstacles or as the things that are in it, then there's nothing in it. So that's my plan for now anyway. So player starts in the middle room. Well, I'm not going to have that there because this might change. But if there are any changes to how the game starts, that should just go here, setup game. So now all the X and Y locations are actually the player, not the game. So all of these. Did I miss anything? No, good. Make sure that still runs. Here's some basic story plot. Exciting, isn't it? It's really not exciting. I should really make a plot at some point. I think that says West Room. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Yep, middle room. Maybe if I jiggle this a little bit, it'll fix itself. Nope. I can always just get another screen. I have a bunch of them at my makerspace. I can just solder on some more headers to another one. If this one keeps having a weird contrast. Is the screen, or is the text on the screen very visible? If you guys can read it? Or can you read when it says like middle room and here's some basic story plot, etc. Just curious. I tried to make it nice and big so that you could read it. Wow, now it looks even more faded. I've got to up the contrast a bit. Well, since no one responded, I'll just assume you guys can read it. Thanks for chatting, guys. Come on. Alright, so I've made, so that's going to contain the text and enemy information. I'll add that soon. That's done. So I'm going to actually add the buttons now. And I actually wrote a library a couple days ago just so the use of buttons as external interrupts in the Arduino Uno is a little easier, because I was thinking about it, and 9 times out of 10 you want to use the buttons just the most obvious simple way, and so that should be really easy. Like there should be a function just for essentially doing that. So I just wrote a library to help out with that, so I'm going to use that library in this code as well. But first let me physically add the buttons so that they'll actually be connected. So I've got just one button in here. Just need to, and on the Arduino Uno I can only use pins 2 and 3, so I can really only have 2 buttons if I'm sticking with the Uno for this game, because they are the only pins that can use external interrupts, which, I mean, I don't have to use interrupts, I can just pull the buttons, but it's nicer to use interrupts. So button in there, yep. Okay, so this will be button 2. Just put that over here. I'm just putting the buttons in the breadboard now. Need to bend these legs a little bit. Okay, and pull down resistor. I'm just using some 10K resistors as pull downs. So my buttons are in pins 2 and 3. So I'm gonna put, it doesn't matter, I'll put this one in 3. and the other one in 2. And hopefully I wrote my library well, so it will work. And now the contrast is even worse. Oh wow, fixed it. Just gotta kind of tap the screen. Good enough. So I'm just going to make sure those buttons are working. Just something in here. So I've got 2 and 3. Yeah, sure. It's just a real quick test to make sure the buttons are working. Use the serial monitor. This is, of course, after the game intro. Oh, I never started the serial. Welp. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this for now, just to speed things up a little bit. Okay, buttons are good. Okay, so instead of these simulations, I'm going to actually use the interrupts. So I'm just going to bring in that library. Actually, before I do that, well, I do have to add these into how. But I'm just gonna commit my other changes. Sure. Okay. So now I'm adding the buttons. Say button 1 is going to be pin 2. Button 2 will be pin 3. Yeah, so I press that one. Okay, yep. And where did I put the other? Right, I think they're in my Dropbox. Projects. Oh yes, simple buttons. Okay, so I'm going to copy these into there. So this is code simple buttons. So I just have it's weirdly indented. Simple interrupt and simple debounce. Oh yeah, I should already have that open. Here's the simple buttons library. Just wrote this little reference. So you just need to supply the pen, the trigger type, which in my case is rising, and the flag. And so this is my example. So I'll have button 1 pressed and button 2 pressed. These need to be volatile and global variables. And booleans are usually good in this case. And for now, I'm just going to have them in this main file. I may move them out when it seems better, but for now, I'm just going to put them in here. Button 1 pressed and button 2 pressed. Yep. And of course I do need to set up those pins as well. Those are inputs now. They're going to start off as false. I think I'll probably also disable interrupts unless I'm explicitly waiting for them. So I am going to have functions in probably a library called control, where I'll say something like wait for user input, or actually probably just get user input, and that will wait until a button is pressed, and that is when the interrupts should be enabled, and otherwise they should be disabled, just so I don't have an accidental button press, and then when I start checking the flags, they're just high already. But I'll worry about that later. So button 2 pressed is false. Okay, and then I want to actually get a button 1 press now instead of just simulating it. Let me just make sure this compiles. Since I added a new library, yep, it's all good. So I want to use simple interrupt. I actually want to use almost exactly this. And that's why I wrote this example. This is basically the way you always want to use it. And then if pressed, do your stuff, wait for the debouncing, so wait for it to be low after some milliseconds for debouncing, and then set the flag back to false. So what did I just copy? Right, simple interrupt. I'm just going to put that in here too. So set up those interrupts. So this is not going to stay here, but for now it's going to be here. So if button 1 is pressed, it should move to the next direction choice. And if button 2 is pressed, then travel to the currently selected choice. And after these, I want to debounce and set them to false. Set the flags to false. Okay, looks good to me. Don't need any delay. So yeah, the nice thing about this library, Simple Buttons, is that I don't actually have the interrupt service routines in my code anywhere. They're just inside that library, because all they're doing is setting the flag high. So I mean, why would I want to write that in every different project I have where I want to use an external button as an interrupt, and just make the same interrupt service routine every time when I'm just setting a flag high. I mean, it's ridiculous. That shouldn't even be in my code. It should just be a library. So that's done. So let's upload this. And some basic story plot. Wow, that's really light. I can barely read that. Oh great, now it's better. Oh, because I touched some wires over here. Cool, so that works. I don't know if you can see that, but the cursor is moving from north, now it's on east, now south, and now west, based on when I press the button. So if I want to go east, I can press the other button, and now I'm in the east room. And if I try going east again, I can't go that way. But I can go back west, so I'm back in the middle room, and so now I can travel around in my little empty world. West room, go back east, middle room. Let's try going south. Where am I? Is it skipping over south? Oh no, now it's on south. South room. If the buttons don't work very well, I can always fix up the debouncing, or just get better buttons. Physically, these buttons are not great, but they work pretty well, and they seem fairly reliable. So I can go north again, north room. Beautiful. Okay, wandering around in my little empty world. So this is basically the get action function right here. Like it's just waiting for a travel. Yeah. So I'm probably going to put this in its own library, but I mean right now it's really small and it's pretty easy to see what's going to move over. Like this stuff is going to move somewhere else, but I can leave it here for now because I don't have a very solid plan for it. If it's something where I could just visualize that layer of abstraction and like that sort of module that it should be in, then I would put it in right away, but I'm just not 100% positive about it right now, so I'm not going to do that yet. So that's done. Just going to push that. Or sorry, just make that commit. I have some new files here. I want to track those. It's so nice not having to use git by the command line. I'll just make that commit too. Okay, so that's all on GitHub now. So let me look at this. What I have up here. So I'm thinking, so I can either have enemies as its own thing, or just things that are in a room. I don't know what to call them. Like basically a word that encapsulates objects like items, obstacles, and enemies. Like basically anything that's in a room that I can interact with. And then just have a different letter for whatever it is. So I mean that could be a string, like that could be something like, I don't know, things. And then let's say there's like a rat, that could be R, or let's say there's 2 rats, there's like a chest, that's like C, and a potion. So something like that, so then I can just have this string and then check if there's something in this room, if there are any things. So if the string is not the empty string, just null, then there is something in the room. And then maybe randomly select which one I interact with first, and once I'm done interacting with it, eliminate it from the string, and there's only these left. And maybe I need to interact with them before I leave the room. Not sure yet. Maybe I should just add enemies first, and then have like a battle system, and then move on to actually having other things in the room like items and potions. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And those can always be separate strings or separate things in the room info struct anyway. And the player info, what else should be in there? So the player should have some health, of course. HP usually starts at 100, so sure, why not? We'll start at 100. Oh, wait a minute. Where's that game intro? So this is actually, this should be a button press now. So this should be wait for button 2. Yeah, so maybe I should start writing that button pressing library, or the control library. So that could be wait for button 1 and wait for button 2, course, the buttons should have better names, so they actually say what they do. Oh, there's a question. How long have I been programming Arduinos? Like a few months, I guess. Like Arduino specifically, just a few months, but I've programmed microcontrollers like the MSP430 for a few years. Yeah. Facebook. I actually don't use Facebook, but I'll check out that group. I do sort of use it for my company anyway. Thanks for the tip. Where was I? So, control library. It could also, like, I'm thinking about it because it could be get user input and then say which button was pressed. Although in that case, if I just use an if statement here, then if it's button 2, if it's the other button, not the select button, then I should not go forward, so it'd kind of be a while. That would be weird because the loop, or the get user input would also be in a loop. But could do something like that. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that for now. So that's going to be control H and control C. Just copy all of this. So this is the control library. This is just for user control. Get user input, and so in this library I'm going to have the simple, what did I call it? Simple buttons library. So I don't need that in here anymore, and probably shouldn't be in there anyway. So yeah. Call this that. So get user input, do stuff. Control. So let's see. These can be in that function because the flags should get reset before anyway. Then these enable the interrupts, but at the end of the function I want to disable interrupts. And what is that? I forget if it's plural. No interrupts, it is. Okay. Yeah, so I'll disable interrupts after that, just to be safe. Moving stuff around a little bit. That's all formatted. Good. So the nice thing about having it in there, though, is that, yeah, it's nice to have things happen as soon as you press the button, so when the button goes down, as opposed to when it goes up. But you can always put this after. So let's say it was something like that. So this just returns which button was pressed. I should change the name of, yeah, that should be button 1 and button 2 pens. I gotta give names to these buttons. It can't just be 1 and 2. It's fine for me, because I'm fine with numbers, but it's not very descriptive. So there's a select button, and what's that called? Like change selection? It's not select and start. You guys have any ideas? What should I call that other button? So one is select, like to select an actual option. The other is just to switch between the options. Nobody has any ideas. 10 people watching, no one's saying anything? Okay. Well, so button 1 can be, where was that one? Oh, that was there. Button and 3. What's that one? Button 2. Okay. Actually, I can leave them. Yeah, no, here they can be fine. So I'm just going to move this in there. So I can debounce after getting the buttons. So if get user input is, what's that called? Button 1 press. I guess I'll just say select. This should be an else if, actually, because I don't want to handle the case where they're both pressed for some reason. Wait, button 1 was which one? Pin 2. Okay, so that one's the change one. Change that to B. Whoa, what do I have wrong here? Am I doing something wrong here, or is it just trying to correct me? Oh, okay, that was weird. Okay, so, I mean, this is essentially using it like it's polling anyway, but I'm using the interrupts. I might use them differently. I mean, it's not like it's a reaction game or anything. Or even any sort of action game. So, like, but this is just a more reliable way. I could even put it to sleep at this time when it's waiting for the buttons to be pressed, and then wake up on the interrupt, so it's saving power, because maybe I want to run this with the battery, and the LCD maybe doesn't consume that much power, so that would be kind of nice. Is my internet down? I would not be surprised. Looks like it is. I'll be right back. And I'm back, I think. Yep, looks like my internet is back up. Just gonna wait till it shows up on YouTube. Okay, yeah, so back up and running. So obviously I need to move this to control outside here. Change that. As well go here. Okay. Need to include this new library. Control. Okay. Simple buttons. I'm not going to use it in here just yet. This is where it's going to change, but I'll leave that for now. So the get user input function actually waits for user input too. So which often those sorts of functions do. So it's going to wait until either of the buttons are pressed and then say which one was pressed. Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a good way to do it for now. I might change how that works in the future. But let's see if this is working at all. So button 1, undeclared, because I don't have how. The hardware abstraction layer. And change. So I think change is, oh yeah, change is, that's already a constant from like rising, falling, and change for the trigger. So what do I call these? Just B select, B change. Sure, we'll go with that for now. Alright, let's upload that. Is my internet down again? Oh, come on. Oh well, I'm just gonna do this while I'm offline anyway. Looks like I have these buttons backwards. Where's this one going? Button 3. Or sorry, pin 3. So pin 3 should be select. Pin 3, button 2. Yeah. Oh, why did I do these backwards? Swap those. Okay. Change and select.